The bank statement in my hands felt like a death sentence. College fund account balance, $0. 8 years. 8 years of saving every birthday gift, every summer job paycheck, every penny I could scrape together for my education. All gone. I called the bank, my hands trembling. There must be a mistake. This account had $43,000 in it yesterday. I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson, but according to our records, your father withdrew the entire amount this morning. As a joint account holder, he has full authorization. My stomach dropped. I hung up and immediately called Dad. David, I can explain. Where's my college fund? The silence stretched for eternity before he finally answered. We needed it for Marcus's wedding, the venue costs, the catering. It was an emergency. My stepbrother's wedding was an emergency, but my education isn't? David, you can always get student loans. This was Marcus's one special day. You know how important this is to your mother and me. I stood there, speechless. Marcus, the golden boy who'd waltzed into our family when I was 12 and immediately became everyone's favorite. Marcus, who'd never worked a day in his life, but somehow deserved my entire future. I'm 18, Dad. I start college in 2 months. That money was supposed to pay for my first 2 years. We'll figure something out. Maybe you can take a gap year, work for a while. I hung up. That evening, I sat in my room staring at my acceptance letter to MIT. Full ride to one of the best engineering programs in the country, but I still needed money for housing, books, living expenses. Money that was now paying for champagne and flowers for Marcus's fairytale wedding. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. David, please understand. Marcus has been planning this wedding for months. We couldn't let him down. You're smart, you'll find another way. Another way. As if my dreams were disposable. But as I sat there in the dark, a different kind of plan began forming in my mind. If they wanted to play favorites, fine. But they were about to learn that actions have consequences. I opened my laptop and started researching. The next morning, I walked downstairs to find the whole family buzzing with wedding preparations. Mom was on the phone with the florist, Dad was reviewing seating charts, and Marcus was trying on his tuxedo for the 100th time. David, honey, can you help Marcus with his bow tie? Mom called out without looking up from her phone. I walked over to Marcus, who was struggling with the silk tie. As I fixed it for him, he had the audacity to smile at me. Thanks, bro. I know this wedding is costing a lot, but it means everything to me and Sarah. I promise I'll make it up to you somehow. Don't worry about it, I said calmly, adjusting his collar. You deserve the best. Marcus beamed, completely missing the ice in my voice. That afternoon, while everyone was at the final dress rehearsal, I made my move. I'd done my research and found exactly what I needed. Evidence. See, Marcus had a little secret. For the past year, he'd been running a small-scale identity theft operation, stealing credit card information from his job at the electronics store and selling it online. Nothing huge, just enough to fund his lifestyle while keeping Mom and Dad convinced he was finding himself. I'd suspected something when I noticed his sudden influx of cash despite being between jobs. A little digging through his laptop while he was out had confirmed everything. Screenshots, transaction records, chat logs with buyers, I had it all. But I wasn't going to turn him in. Not yet. I had a much better plan. I called Detective Morrison, a family friend who'd known me since I was a kid. Hey, Mr. Morrison. I need some advice about something legal. Hypothetically, if someone had evidence of a crime but wanted to handle it privately first, how would that work? Well, David, that would depend on the crime. Why don't you come down to the station and we can talk? Actually, could you come to our house tomorrow, around noon? I think it would be better to discuss this with my family present. Tomorrow. Right in the middle of Marcus's wedding reception. The wedding ceremony was beautiful, I had to admit. Marcus looked happy, Sarah looked radiant, and my parents beamed with pride as they watched their golden boy say his vows. I sat in the back, wearing my best suit, smiling and clapping at all the right moments. Nobody suspected a thing. During the reception, as Marcus and Sarah cut their cake and everyone toasted their happiness, I excused myself and stepped outside to make a phone call. Detective Morrison? Yes, it's David Thompson. Are you still planning to come by at noon? Perfect. You'll want to bring backup. When I came back inside, Marcus was giving a speech, thanking everyone for coming, and especially thanking Mom and Dad for making this day possible with their incredible generosity. The crowd applauded. I raised my glass, along with everyone else. To Marcus and Sarah, I said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "May you get exactly what you deserve." Marcus grinned and nodded at me. If only he knew. At 11:45 a.m., I approached the head table where the happy couple was receiving congratulations. "Marcus, could I talk to you privately for a moment? It's important." "Sure, bro. What's up?" I led him to a quiet corner of the reception hall and pulled out my phone. "I need to show you something," I said, opening the folder of screenshots I'd compiled. "Look familiar?" Marcus's face went white as he saw the evidence of his crimes laid out in perfect detail. "David, I can explain." "Save it. Detective Morrison will be here in 10 minutes to arrest you for identity theft and wire fraud. Federal charges, Marcus. We're talking 5 to 10 years in prison." "You can't do this. Not today. It's my wedding day." "You're right. It is your wedding day. The day my parents spent my entire college fund to celebrate you." I leaned closer. "But here's the thing, I'm willing to make a deal." Marcus's eyes lit up with desperate hope. "What kind of deal?" "Stand up right now, in front of all these guests, and confess everything. Tell them about the identity theft. Tell them how you've been lying to everyone, and tell them that the money for this wedding was stolen from my future." "David, please." "Or," I continued, "you can try to run, and Detective Morrison can arrest you right here in front of your new wife and all your wedding guests. Your choice." Marcus looked around the reception hall at Sarah laughing with her bridesmaids, at our parents proudly mingling with guests, at the life he'd built on lies. "You're bluffing," he said, but his voice was shaking. I checked my watch. 5 minutes, Marcus. Tick-tock. At exactly noon, Detective Morrison walked through the reception hall doors with 2 uniformed officers behind him. I had positioned myself near the head table, watching Marcus's face go from pale to green as he spotted the police. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, standing up and tapping my champagne glass. "If I could have everyone's attention for just a moment." The room quieted down, all eyes turning to me. Marcus looked like he was about to throw up. "I have a special announcement to make about the groom," I continued, my voice carrying clearly across the silent room. "My stepbrother Marcus has something very important he'd like to share with all of you." Marcus stood up slowly, his hands visibly trembling. Sarah looked at him with concern, reaching for his hand. "Marcus?" she whispered. "What's going on?" Detective Morrison was making his way through the crowd now, and I could see the exact moment Marcus realized he was trapped. Marcus started, his voice barely audible, then louder. "I need to tell you all something." The room was dead silent now. Even the catering staff had stopped what they were doing. "For the past year, I've been stealing people's identities, selling their credit card information online, the money I used to contribute to this wedding, to buy Sarah's ring, to pay for our honeymoon. It was all stolen." Gasps echoed through the room. Sarah jerked her hand away from his as if she'd been burned. "Marcus, what are you saying?" Mom's voice cut through the silence, shrill with disbelief. "I'm saying I'm a criminal, Mom, and David found out. He gave me a choice: confess now or get arrested in front of everyone." All eyes turned to me. I met my parents' shocked gazes calmly. "The $43,000 you took from my college fund?" I said loud enough for everyone to hear. "It went to pay for a wedding funded by stolen money. I thought everyone should know what they were really celebrating." Detective Morrison reached Marcus just as the groom's legs gave out and he collapsed into his chair. "Marcus Williams, you're under arrest for identity theft, wire fraud, and money laundering." The wedding reception dissolved into chaos. Sarah ran out in tears, her wedding dress trailing behind her. Guests whispered among themselves, some taking pictures, others heading quickly for the exits. Mom was crying, Dad was shouting at the police, and Marcus was being read his rights in front of what was supposed to be his happiest day. But I wasn't done yet. As Detective Morrison led Marcus away in handcuffs, I walked over to where Mom and Dad stood in shock. "How could you do this to your own brother?" Mom sobbed at me. "On his wedding day? The same way you could steal my entire future for his wedding," I replied calmly. "The same way you've put his wants above my needs for the past 6 years." "David, we can explain," Dad started. "No need. I understand perfectly. Marcus comes first, always has. But here's what you don't understand: that money you stole from me? It's going to pale in comparison to what this is going to cost you. Dad frowned. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone and showed them a document I'd prepared. Marcus named you both as co-conspirators in his statement to the police. He said you knew where the money was coming from. That's a lie, Mom gasped. I know it is, but the FBI is going to investigate anyway. Your bank accounts will be frozen, your assets seized, and you'll need lawyers. Expensive lawyers. The color drained from Dad's face. David, you can't. I already did. The federal investigation starts Monday. They'll be looking into every dollar that came into this household over the past year, every purchase, every payment. Including the money you stole from my college fund. We'll pay you back, Dad said desperately. Every penny, I swear. With what money? Your accounts are frozen, remember? Marcus can't work from prison, and I'm going to sue you both for theft and emotional distress. Mom collapsed into a chair, finally understanding the scope of what I'd unleashed. But don't worry, I continued, my voice gentle now. I'm not heartless. When you're both in prison, I'll make sure to visit. Maybe I'll even put money in your commissary accounts. You know, if I can spare it after paying for MIT. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Marcus was convicted on all charges and sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. The investigation into Mom and Dad revealed that while they hadn't known about Marcus's crimes, they had been negligent in their financial oversight and faced their own charges for harboring a criminal and financial conspiracy. Dad got 3 years. Mom got 2. The house was seized as part of the asset forfeiture, along with their cars and most of their belongings. The money from my college fund was returned to me as part of the restitution, plus damages. But the real poetic justice came 6 months later. I was visiting Dad in prison, the first and only time I planned to do so. He looked terrible. Orange jumpsuit, hollow eyes, 20 pounds lighter. David, he said when he saw me across the visitor table. I'm so sorry. We never meant for things to go this far. I know, I said simply. You never meant for me to fight back. What do you want from me? I've lost everything. My freedom, my wife, my home, my dignity. What more can you take? I leaned forward and smiled. Dad, I'm not here to take anything else. I'm here to tell you something. Remember how you said Marcus's wedding was more important than my education? He nodded miserably. Well, I got married last month. His eyes widened. Married? To who? Her name is Jennifer. She's brilliant, doctorate in biochemistry, family money, everything you always wanted in a daughter-in-law. We had a beautiful ceremony. Small and intimate, but perfect. Dad's face lit up with the first hope I'd seen in months. David, that's wonderful. Does this mean can we put this behind us? Can we be a family again? I stood up to leave. The wedding cost $43,000, Dad. Exactly what you stole from me, and just like you did with Marcus's wedding, I spared no expense. Top venue, best catering, live band, the works. That's great, son. I'm happy for you. Thanks. Oh, and Dad? Just like you made me pay for Marcus's wedding by stealing my future, you and Mom paid for mine too. His smile faltered. What do you mean? The venue was the prison chapel, Dad. The catering was commissary food. The live band was a guard with a radio. You see, I got married to Jennifer right here in the visitor's room, with you and Mom as our witnesses. The blood drained from his face. David, no. Mom walked me down the aisle in shackles. You gave the toast from behind bars. And the best part? The whole thing was live-streamed to all your old friends and neighbors. They got to see exactly what kind of father puts his stepson before his real son. I headed for the door, then turned back one final time. You wanted to give Marcus the wedding of his dreams at my expense, so I gave myself the wedding of my dreams at yours. Seems fair, don't you think? 2 years later, I graduated from MIT with highest honors and a job offer from Tesla that came with a 6-figure signing bonus. Jennifer, who was real, brilliant, and had actually agreed to marry me properly after my fake prison wedding stunt, stood beside me at graduation. We'd had our real ceremony the month before, paid for entirely with money I'd earned through internships and investments. Are you happy? She asked as we posed for pictures with my diploma. I'm free, I said, which was the same thing. Mom was released 6 months after graduation. Dad got out a year later. They both tried to reach out, to apologize, to rebuild our relationship. I declined every call, returned every letter unopened. They'd made their choice when they put Marcus first. I'd made mine when I put myself first. The last I heard, they were living in a small apartment across town, both working minimum wage jobs to rebuild their lives. Marcus was still in prison and would be for several more years. As for me, I bought a beautiful house with my signing bonus not far from the mansion Mom and Dad used to own, the one that was seized and sold at auction. Sometimes I drive past their old house, now owned by a nice family with 2 kids. The new owners take better care of it than my parents ever did. And sometimes I wonder if Mom and Dad think about that $43,000 they stole from me, whether they think it was worth it. Whether Marcus's one perfect day was worth destroying their entire family. But then, I remember the look on Dad's face when I told him about my prison wedding, and I smile. Some lessons are expensive, but the most important ones always are. 5 years after graduation, I received an unexpected visitor at my office. Sarah Marcus's ex-wife stood in my reception area looking nervous and much older than her years. "David, I was wondering if I could speak with you for a moment." I gestured her into my office, curious. We hadn't spoken since the wedding disaster. "I wanted to apologize," she said once we were seated, "for everything. For not seeing what Marcus really was, for being part of what happened to your college fund, for all of it." "Sarah, you don't need to." "Yes, I do. I divorced Marcus 2 weeks after his arrest. I was naive and stupid, but I wasn't innocent. I knew we were spending more money than he was earning, and I chose not to ask questions because I liked the lifestyle." She pulled out a check and placed it on my desk. "It's $15,000, everything I can spare after paying off the debts Marcus left me with. I know it's not much compared to what you lost, but it's what I can do." I looked at the check, then at Sarah. She'd clearly been through hell-dark circles under her eyes, cheap clothes instead of the designer outfits she used to wear, calloused hands that spoke of hard work. "Keep it," I said, pushing the check back toward her. "You've paid enough." She started to cry. "David, I'm so sorry. If I could go back and change everything." "You can't, but you can move forward and do better. That's all any of us can do." After she left, I sat in my office thinking about forgiveness and justice, about revenge and redemption. I'd gotten my revenge on Mom, Dad, and Marcus. They'd all paid the price for their choices. But Sarah had actually learned from her mistakes. She'd done the work to become a better person. Maybe that was the difference between justice and revenge. Justice taught lessons. Revenge just inflicted pain. I'd needed both, but I was glad to see that some people could learn without having their entire world destroyed first. Jennifer and I had our first child the following year, a daughter we named Hope. As I held her in the hospital, looking at her tiny, perfect face, I thought about the family I'd grown up in, and the family I was now creating. "She's beautiful," Jennifer whispered, exhausted but glowing. "She's going to be loved," I said firmly, "unconditionally and equally, no matter what. Even if we have more kids, especially then." I thought about Mom and Dad, about how they destroyed our family by loving Marcus more than me, about how their favoritism had poisoned everything it touched. I made a promise to Hope that day, one I intended to keep no matter what. She would never wonder if she was second best. She would never question whether her parents' love came with conditions. She would never have to choose between justice and family, because I would never make her family unjust. A month later, I received a letter in the mail. The return address was the state prison where Dad was serving his sentence. I almost threw it away unopened, like all the others. But something stopped me. Inside was a single sheet of paper with just a few lines. "David, I saw the birth announcement in the paper. Congratulations on your daughter. I know I have no right to ask for anything, but I hope someday she'll know she has a grandfather who loves her, even if he failed as a father. I'm proud of the man you became, despite me, not because of me. Dad." I read it twice, then put it in Hope's baby book. Not because I forgave him, not because we were reconciled, but because someday, when Hope was old enough to understand, I wanted her to know the whole story. The good choices and the bad ones, the consequences and the redemption. I wanted her to understand that families aren't perfect, but they should be fair, and that sometimes The greatest gift you can give your children isn't unconditional love, it's conditional respect that they have to earn by treating others with kindness and justice. Hope is 5 years old now, bright and curious, and surrounded by love. Jennifer and I had a son 2 years ago. Thomas, and I kept my promise. Both kids know they're equally cherished, equally important, equally deserving of our time and resources. We've never told them about their grandparents, about Marcus, about the wedding that destroyed a family. They're too young for that story. But someday, when they're older, I'll explain it to them. I'll tell them about the college fund and the favoritism and the choice between justice and family. I'll teach them that sometimes good people make terrible choices, and sometimes the people who love you the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. But most importantly, I'll teach them that they always have a choice. They can choose to be fair, to be just, to treat all their loved ones with equal respect and kindness. They can choose to be better than the generation that came before them. And if they ever find themselves in a position where someone steals their future for someone else's present, I'll teach them that they have the right to fight back. Because that's what family really means. Not unconditional loyalty, but unconditional respect for each other's dignity and dreams. Last week, Hope asked me why we don't have grandparents like her friends do. We do, sweetheart, I told her. They just made some bad choices and had to go away for a while. Will they come back? I thought about that for a long moment. Maybe someday, if they learn to make better choices. And if they don't, then we'll be okay without them, because the family we choose is just as important as the family we're born into. She nodded solemnly, accepting this the way children accept all truths from their parents. That night, as I tucked her into bed, she asked one more question. Daddy, if I ever make bad choices, will you send me away too? No, baby, never. But I'll help you fix them and do better next time. That's what families are supposed to do. She smiled and closed her eyes, secure in the knowledge that her love was unconditional and her place in the family was permanent. It was everything I'd never had, and everything I'd always wanted to give. Some people might say I went too far with my revenge, that I destroyed innocent people along with the guilty ones. But I prefer to think of it differently. I taught my family the difference between love and fairness, between loyalty and justice. And I made sure my children would never have to learn that lesson the hard way. From now on, I shall be untouched by spring and autumn, and detached from romance and worldly beauty. Did you enjoy this story of family betrayal turned into ultimate justice? Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our emotional stories. Write in the comments, which moment hit you the hardest, when they stole his college fund, when he exposed Marcus at the wedding, or when his parents ended up in prison? See you in the next story.